So, I want to make this video about becoming your own shaman. So, there's a lot of people out there that think that to be a shaman, you have to learn from a shaman. To be a guru, you have to learn from a guru. This isn't school, right? This isn't like in order to be a doctor, you have to go to medical school. In order to be a therapist, you got to go to college. In order to, be a mathematician, you have to go to college and learn math. This isn't like that. It's a little different. Now, I do think that it is a journey of learning. It is a journey of exploration and gaining knowledge and understanding and feeling and yeah, but you gain this knowledge in a much different way. So, my argument every time someone says that you need a guru or a shaman to teach you how to be a shaman, my argument always is, well, then who taught the first shamans? Obviously, the first shamans didn't learn from shamans. They learned from the plants. They learned from direct contact with the plants. And I really think that a lot of people that, claim to be shamans, they have this deep connection with plants. They don't look at plants the same way that most people do. Um, which, is why a lot of, they call it shamanism. It's basically this connection with the plants and gaining knowledge from the plants. And shamanism is such a broad term. You can describe shamanism as so many different things because shamanism really is what works for you with connecting with the plants and gaining knowledge and understanding. Now, throughout most shamans use psychoactive substances. Now, there are the gurus, and the gurus don't use, at least what they say is they don't use any psychoactive substances. What I think is that I think the psychoactive substances that the gurus used to use, or the Hindus basically used to use, was blue lotus, red lotus, or white lotus. One of the lotus flowers. I think that the lotus flower has a lot to do with the Hindu ways, has a lot to do with spirituality over there. I feel like the lotus flower, how they say that the lotus flower was just used as symbolism, I call BS. I think that it's been suppressed. It's been kept secret because I definitely think that if the lotus flower is, they represent the lotus flower a lot. They say that it's like a representation of Hinduism, but they don't say they eat it. They say that it just represents growing from, how lotus flower grows in the mud and it comes out and it's beautiful and it's like something coming up from something ugly to be beautiful, things like that. Like that, they try to use it as a metaphor. But I call BS. I think that they used to use it, and that's where a lot of the beliefs came from. And then over time, for some reason, it got demonized, and then now it's not looked at as something you ingest, just as symbolism. But this is just my personal opinion. But I think that we get this misconception that we need a teacher, and you don't need anything nowadays. You do need teachers. Don't get me wrong. You need to learn from people. But don't look at them like, this is my guru, or this is my shaman, and I am this shaman's apprentice, or this is my teacher, and I am his student, or her student. It's like, no. Look at it as, for me, the way I do it, right? I can only say what I do, so I'm going to say what I do. What I do is this. My first deep psychedelic philosopher person I learned from was Terence McKenna. And we live in the world of the internet. We live in the world where it's like people talk about mentors, people talk about, teachers and learning from people and all this shit. Yeah, you can learn from everyone now from the internet. It's no longer you're stuck to one shaman and learning what that shaman knows. You can now research and read books and audiobooks and podcasts and this and that, videos, fucking they now publish, scientific research online, so you as a normal human being can actually go and look up this scientific research that has been going on, that's and continuously going on today. I think that you could do the same thing with shamanism. And what I've noticed is, and I guess what I do is this. I tend to research people, look what they do, learn from them, and then like I move on. So the first thing I was doing was philosophy. It's like I look at my life like it's college, right? Like, but I'm from like time I was 20 years old until I was like 22, 23. It was all about philosophy. It was all about, in the beginning it was Terence McKenna. I would sit there for fucking 5 hours listening to Terence McKenna. Like, 5 hours straight listening to Terence McKenna. I remember the one time exactly that I'm thinking about is me and my friend Twiz. He just came over to my house. We just sat there. We were smoking. We were chilling, and we were listening to Terence McKenna for 5 hours. And like, sometimes we'd pause it and then talk about what he was saying. So over a span, it was probably about 8 hours of us sitting there. But it was a 5 hour talk. But then, like I said, we would pause it and talk about it and go in. But like, this is what I mean. I was learning from Terrence, then I would learn from Dennis, then I found the Joe Rogan Experience, then I started watching the Joe Rogan Experience, then I started watching, I don't know, there was many other things I started watching, like other philosophers like Alan Watts. I started listening to Infinite Waters. I started expanding it from deep philosophy to, people like Infinite Waters, which at the time I needed someone like Infinite Waters. I needed something like that, which was more on the peaceful, loving side, because in my mind I was battling with a demon. I was battling with the dark side of myself, and I still do to this day, but the light is much brighter than the dark. It's much bigger than the dark. Back then, the dark was much bigger than the light. And it's like, so on my path, I started listening to Infinite Waters. I started listening to Teal Swan because I found Teal Swan through Infinite Waters. Then through that, kind of started watching Spirit Science and then Jason Silva and then it kind of expanded to watching YouTubers, like small YouTubers. And I've started to realize that there's a lot of smaller YouTubers that have so much fucking information, it's insane. Most of the time, the smaller YouTubers have much more valuable information and much more deeper information than the bigger YouTubers. You know, it's just I don't know. It's for some reason that's just what I've noticed. And when I say bigger, I mean people with like 100,000 plus. The ones below that, and like there's sometimes I've learned from people that have 3 subscribers. And it's like I learned something deep as fuck, or and I just, this is just what I've been doing. And then I switched it off recently, about a year ago, to researching entrepreneurship. And because I started an herbal business that it's down right now, but I'm going to relaunch it eventually here soon. But like, so I started researching entrepreneurship and started listening to people like Evan Carmichael and Tom Bilyeu and Gary Vaynerchuk and, there's just so many people, Grant Cardone. I started, now I'm expanding my thing to listening to audiobooks, not just watching podcasts and videos and listening to, podcasts. And, now it's like audiobooks as well. And this is what I mean. What I'm saying is you can be your own shaman. You can be your own entrepreneur. You can be your own whatever the fuck you want to be. You don't need a teacher anymore. You don't really need college anymore. You don't need most of these things anymore because information is available as long as you self-discipline yourself. Discipline yourself to be able to actually do the research and fucking, dedicate your life to getting good at your craft, at what you do. Because for me, I'm only learning what I do. I am learning the things that allow me to be me even more. I am learning the things that allow me to get to know myself better because I get to be me times 100. I know in my mind what I'm capable of. So I'm actually trying to do that. People doubt themselves, which is why they don't really do much, which is why a lot of people don't, there's this old saying that it's like they don't take you seriously unless like you have money or if you have a college degree. And it's like, who gives a fuck if they take you seriously? I think that's the issue. I think, why does it matter if they take you seriously? Who cares what people think about you? And it's the same thing with shamanism. There's so many people that are going to judge you because there are shamans, like, there's a lot of shamanism, and shamans are starting to expand to the Western world. So it's a little different nowadays. So nowadays, it's like you have many white shamans. You have many people who came from America that now live in the Amazon rainforest that started up an ayahuasca retreat and now have many retreats. There are many retreats now, many different types of shamans. And yes, I do agree that not all of those people that went down to start those retreats, not all of them are real shamans. And it doesn't mean, real shaman does not mean that you were born in Peru or born in the Amazon or was learned from a shaman. You can be a real shaman that is, the typical, white male American, that they say, that they judge to say that they can't be shaman. I disagree. I think that it doesn't matter who you are, what skin color you are, what ethnicity, what the fuck, if you're from planet Mars, it doesn't matter where you're from. You can be a shaman. And it's all about if you want it. And it's all about, if you're actually doing it. Are you walking the path? Don't just go down to Peru, just because you got a little bit of money. Go start, buy some land. Go start an ayahuasca resort retreat just because you've had ayahuasca a couple times and you think you know what you're doing. No, I don't think you should even be thinking about opening. If you're if you're in the beginning stages, if you've only been doing this, if you've been doing this less than 5 years, then do not think about opening up a retreat, because you need to, for lack of a better word, at least get your master's degree in ayahuasca, or get your master's degree in LSD, get your master's degree in DMT, get your master's degree with San Pedro, get your master's degree with something. You need to at least, I feel like, been doing something for a long time. And I say master's degree because for me, I think I consider myself good when I've been doing this for 6 years, because that's what people in college look at it as. When you've been working, when you've been learning something for 6 years, then you get your master's degree. And it's like, well, I kind of feel the same thing. If you don't have some time under your belt, some experiences under your belt, like, you need to have, and it doesn't really matter about the numbers, because there are people that could have been doing this for 10 years that have no clue what the fuck they're talking about because they're not paying attention, because they're doing it in such horrible environments. And it's like, it's all about your intention as well. What is your intention of why you're using these things? Because if you're using these things just to escape, then no, you're not a shaman. It doesn't matter if you've done them 10,000 times and done it for 20 years. You're still not a shaman, because you're not doing it for the same reasons why a shaman would do it. Shamans do it to heal themselves, to heal themselves so they can heal others, to experience it so they can give others that experience, to experience it so they can tell others about the experience, to the people that might not be able to have the experience, to express themselves, to dive deep, to understand the world, the reality that they live in, to try to ask questions, to understand what we are, what God is, what humanity is, what the planet is. I think there are many reasons why people use these things, but the ballpark of why shamans use and do what they do is because it is them. It is their life. It is their path. For me, in the beginning of my YouTube channel, the reason why I'm talking about this is because the reason why I started my YouTube channel is because it was literally like a journey to become a modern day shaman. It was much more on the psychedelic side than my channel is today. And if any of you guys want to see my deep psychedelic videos, go to minds.com in my video section, or go to BitChute. There are more psychedelic videos on Minds right now than BitChute, and I'm going to upload all the ones to BitChute pretty soon. But I just, I've been separating my content because of the whole YouTube censorship thing. But I just think that we still need to talk about this. And this is what is. I mean, this is what happened with me. This is my life still. I still think that me on a path to become an entrepreneur is still on a path to become a shaman. I think a shaman is also a businessman. I think a shaman is also, it's like, if you're a businessman and you're only a businessman, then no, you're not a shaman. But if you are a deep diver with the plants, connected with Mother Nature, connected with the plants, and a businessman, then yes, you are still a shaman. This is the evolution of the world that we're living in. So if the shaman wants to exist in the modern day world, then the shaman will have to evolve. So I do think you can become your own shaman. And shout out to Beyond the Veil podcast with Chris Geo and Cherie Geo, his wife. I think that what they're doing is absolutely amazing. They're like literally doing a similar thing, which is they've become their own shamans. They've learned directly from ayahuasca, from the plants, from the plant connection with ayahuasca. They learned directly from that, and I don't know their personal story, but I don't think they've had like a shaman to guide them the whole way, and I think that these are prime examples that you can become your own shaman. I mean, Terrence McKenna, whether he realizes it or not, he was a shaman. There are he was one of the first modern day shamans in a way. It's just we have to the shamans push the boundaries is what the shamans do. They push the boundaries with reality, with these substances, with themselves, with what they're doing, with what they believe, with what they will do, with what they will try. They push the boundaries because someone needs to. Because if the boundaries don't get pushed, humans don't evolve. So in order to have constant movement in reality, we need to be pushing the boundaries. Science pushes the boundaries in a different aspect, which is why there's still movement. But with any aspect of reality, the boundaries have to be pushed. And the shaman is basically pushing the boundaries with the mind to understand the mind, to understand consciousness, to understand reality, to understand how deep this shit goes. And I do think that there needs to be more people open to being themselves, because there are a lot of people that want to walk down the shaman path but are scared because they don't want to get judged as like, oh, you're not a shaman, you've never even been to the rainforest to do ayahuasca, how could you call yourself a shaman? It's like, who cares what people think about you? The shamans, it's not about where you're from or where you take the substance. It's about why you take the substance and how you do it. It doesn't matter. There's a lot of, just walk your path. Because I think the more people that walk their path, the more that we'll be able to learn and gain knowledge from. Because nowadays with the internet, what's beautiful is that we're not tethered to what the shamans had to do. The shamans had to only take the substances in their area, only take the plants that were in their little tiny area. They couldn't take a plant from anywhere else. And it's like all the plants I use I use a few plants from my area that grow around in my area, but in reality, a lot of the plants I use are scattered from the world. From Asia to Africa to North America to South America to I don't know, even some plants from Australia. Like, there's the plants I use are scattered from across the world, and if it wasn't the way it is today, if I wasn't born today, I wouldn't be able to be the type of shaman that I want to be, the type of person I want to be. And I think that that's why I love, the fact that we live in a modern day world and that we can be and become modern day shamans. We can become modern day entrepreneur. The entrepreneurship thing is interesting too, because it's the same thing. It doesn't matter if you're talking about becoming a modern day shaman, entrepreneur, I don't know, modern day rapper. I mean, every single industry in the world has evolved now, and it's easier to get all of them. It's easier to be a famous rapper. It's easier because you don't need the industry anymore. It's easier to be, a modern day shaman because all the information is online and you can learn everything that you can read. You could read like 10 books about actual shamans who wrote actual books about being a shaman, and then therefore you just have 10 teachers or 10 different shamans where you just learn from. You can research Terrence. There are thousands of people just like me that talk about these experiences and the experiences they've had and the life experiences they've had with it's just there are millions of ways to become your own shaman now. There are millions of ways to become an entrepreneur now. You're not stuck to having to go to a business class to actually learn business. There are millions of people that will teach you business online for free. There are people that still go to like seminars and fucking pay a fucking shit ton of money for an online seminar or online course, and it's like, honestly, in my opinion, that is not needed whatsoever. You don't. It's same thing with shamanism, same thing with anything. You do not need to pay to learn this shit. You know, there's someone who's saying, hey, in order for me to teach you this, you're gonna have to pay me, and there's someone else who is teaching the exact same thing for free. So why waste your time paying, whatever, someone where you can just fucking goddamn learn it for free? It's a little harder if you learn it for free, because whatever. And what's interesting is some people only pay for things because it's like they're more obligated to learn. They're more obligated to pay attention because they paid for it, so they don't want to waste their money. And it's like that's just a self-discipline issue. You have to know yourself. You have to know yourself, and just know that what I'm talking about right now, you might not have any interest whatsoever to ever become a modern day shaman, to ever, like, deeply connect with Mother Nature or whatever. And, all I can say is that this can be applied to more than just being a modern day shaman. This is the way the world is going. The way the world is going is it's going to a point where you can be whatever you want to be because the internet allows you to learn whatever the fuck you want to learn. And then you can experience more things. And then don't just learn things, because there are many people that will read. You can read 1,000 books on shamanism, and like I hate those scientists that will be like that will be psychedelic scientists who have never done a psychedelic before. It's like, what the fuck? That makes no goddamn sense to me. If you have only read books, if you've only went to college for it, if you only did that and haven't actually experienced it, then you still have no clue what the fuck you're talking about. Like, it's the basics, what you can write down, but there are many things about that path that cannot be written down. There are many things about many paths that cannot be written down. Saying you can learn anything just by going to college for it or reading about it or going to seminars about it and not actually doing it is like saying you can learn how to drive a car just by reading books about it. Makes no sense. You actually have to get in the car and drive to actually learn how to drive. So, yeah. I'm going to end the video there. It's been like 22 minutes, 23. But it's been a dope 23 minutes. Hope you guys have a wonderful night. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, everyone.